January 2026, 02:47 local time, the Strait of Hormuz. Somewhere in the darkness of the Arabian Sea, the amphibious assault ship USS Bataan holds position 60 nautical miles from Iranian territorial waters. On her flight deck, 22 V-22 Ospreys sit with rotors folded, each one carrying 24 combat-loaded Marines. In less than 90 minutes, over 1,000 warfighters will be airborne, moving toward a coastline defended by one of the most dense missile networks on the planet. The order hasn't come yet, but the system is already running. What most people never understood about this deployment, what almost no analyst talked about, is that the Marines weren't the weapon. The aircraft weren't the weapon. The weapon was something far more dangerous, and Iran had no way to stop it. To understand why the United States moved thousands of Marines to Iran's doorstep using an aircraft that was once called a flying coffin, you need to understand a problem that has haunted military planners for over 40 years. The problem is geography. Iran sits behind one of the most naturally defensible positions in the modern world. To its south, the Strait of Hormuz, a choke point only 21 nautical miles wide at its narrowest. To its west, the Persian Gulf, a shallow, enclosed body of water where every ship is a target. To its north and east, mountain ranges that funnel any ground approach into predictable corridors, and layered across all of it, an integrated air defense system built specifically to do one thing: prevent the United States from getting close enough to matter. Iran operates over 200 mobile missile launchers. It fields thousands of anti-ship cruise missiles, many of them Chinese-designed, capable of skimming the surface at Mach 0.9. Its coastal defense batteries are buried into cliff faces. Its fast attack craft, over 1,500 of them, swarm in packs designed to overwhelm a carrier group through sheer numbers. The math is straightforward. If you sail a conventional amphibious force through the Strait of Hormuz, you are moving at 14 knots through a corridor where the enemy has pre-registered every square meter for missile fire. Transit time through the kill zone, roughly 4 hours. That is 4 hours of exposure against an adversary who has spent decades rehearsing this exact scenario. A traditional marine landing, the kind perfected at Iwo Jima, refined at Incheon, is functionally impossible here. The beaches are mined. The approaches are covered. The distances are wrong. So the question becomes, how do you project power against a fortified coastline when every conventional method of arrival has been neutralized? The answer is vertical, and it changes everything about how we think about modern force deployment. But first, you need to understand why the V-22 Osprey, an aircraft that killed 30 people during development and nearly got canceled 4 separate times, became the most strategically important airframe in the Marine Corps inventory. The Osprey is a tiltrotor. 2 massive Rolls-Royce AE 1107C engines sit at the tips of its wings, each producing over 6,000 shaft horsepower. In vertical mode, the engine nacelles point upward. The aircraft hovers like a helicopter. Rotate those nacelles forward 90 degrees and the Osprey becomes a turboprop airplane, cruising at 280 knots with a combat radius exceeding 400 nautical miles. That number matters. Read it again. 400 nautical miles. A conventional marine helicopter, the CH-46 Sea Knight that the Osprey replaced, had a combat radius of roughly 80 nautical miles. That meant the ship carrying it had to be close. Dangerously close, within range of every coastal defense battery Iran operates. The Osprey rewrites that equation. An amphibious ship carrying V-22s can hold position 200 miles offshore, far beyond the range of most anti-ship cruise missiles, and still deliver a battalion of Marines to an objective deep inland. The ship never enters the kill zone. The aircraft crosses it at 300 miles per hour, at altitudes and on flight paths that coastal radar was never designed to track. This is not an incremental improvement. This is a geometric shift in survivability. But here's where the engineering creates a paradox. The Osprey is fast. The Osprey has range. But the Osprey is not armored. Its skin is aluminum and composite. A single 23mm anti-aircraft round can bring it down. It carries no offensive weapons beyond a belly-mounted gun turret. And during the transition between helicopter mode and airplane mode, a 12-second window where the nacelles are rotating, the aircraft is at its most vulnerable. Speed drops. Maneuverability drops. It is, for those 12 seconds, an easy target. So speed alone doesn't solve the problem. Range alone doesn't solve the problem. What solves the problem is something the Marines have been quietly building for over a decade. And this is where the real story begins. Iran's defense network is formidable. But it has a flaw. And it's a flaw that exists in every layered defense system ever constructed. Layered defenses work by detecting threats at long range, classifying them, assigning a weapon system, and engaging before the threat reaches its target. This process is called the engagement sequence, and it depends entirely on one variable: time. If the defense has enough time, it wins. If it doesn't, it fails. Iran's coastal defense radar can detect an inbound aircraft at approximately 150 kilometers. At the Osprey's cruising speed of 510 kilometers per hour, that gives the defense roughly 18 minutes to detect, classify, assign, and engage. 18 minutes is plenty. The system works. But what if the defense doesn't? See one aircraft? What if it sees 47? And what if those 47 aircraft are approaching from 3 different vectors simultaneously, at varying altitudes, with some flying nap of the Earth at 200 feet and others crossing at 12,000, all while electronic warfare? Platforms are flooding every radar frequency with noise? Now, the math changes. The defense still has 18 minutes, but it now needs to process 47 separate tracks, determine which ones are real and which are decoys, assign limited interceptor missiles to the highest priority threats, and coordinate that response across multiple battery commanders who may or may not still have functioning communications. This is called saturation, and it is the single most effective tactic against integrated air defense. But the Marines didn't stop at saturation, because even saturated defenses can get lucky. Even overwhelmed systems can score hits. And when each aircraft carries 24 Marines, a single lucky hit means 24 casualties. The solution required a kill chain, a fully integrated sequence of systems that would neutralize Iranian defenses before the Ospreys ever crossed. The threat ring. If you appreciate the engineering behind modern military power, comment "system" below. Here is how that kill chain works, and once you see it, you'll understand why this deployment was not a show of force. It was a system test. Step 1. Sensor. 72 hours before any Osprey lifts off a flight deck, the system is already active. An MQ-9 Reaper drone orbiting at 45,000 feet over the Gulf of Oman begins mapping Iranian radar emissions. Every time a coastal defense radar activates, the Reaper records its frequency, pulse repetition interval, and location to within 3 meters. This data is transmitted in real time to a ground station in Qatar, where it is fused with satellite imagery showing the physical position of every mobile launcher within range of the planned flight corridor. The defense doesn't know it yet, but it has already been cataloged. Step 2. Data link. That fused intelligence picture is pushed across Link 16, NATO's tactical data network, to every asset in the battlespace simultaneously. The destroyer USS Carney, holding position in the Arabian Sea, receives updated target coordinates. A pair of FA-18 Growlers aboard a carrier 200 miles south receive electronic order of battle data. The Osprey squadron aboard the Baton receives an updated threat map showing exactly which corridors are clear, which are contested, and which are denied. Every node in the system is now seeing the same picture. This is the part most people miss. The network is the weapon, not the aircraft, not the missile. The network. Step 3. Decision Node, a Marine Expeditionary Unit commander, a colonel sitting in the Combat Operations Center aboard the Baton, now holds a decision that would have taken a World War II general 3 days of planning. He can see every threat. He can see every asset, and he can see every corridor. The system has already recommended 3 optimal ingress routes. He selects one. The order is issued digitally. Every aircraft, every escort, every support platform receives updated mission data within 11 seconds. 11 seconds from decision to execution. Step 4. Weapon platform. Before the first Osprey nacelle begins to rotate, the kill chain eliminates the threats it cannot avoid. 2 Growlers activate their ALQ-249 next-generation jammers, flooding Iranian S-band and X-band radar with broadband noise. The radar screens at Bandar Abbas go white. Operators lose track discrimination. For 90 critical seconds, they are functionally blind. During those 90 seconds, the destroyer Carney launches 4 Tomahawk Block V cruise missiles. These are not aimed at cities. They are not aimed at leadership targets. They are aimed at 4 specific radar arrays, the ones the Reaper identified 72 hours earlier. Each Tomahawk navigates autonomously using terrain-matching guidance, striking its target with a circular error probable of less than 5 meters. 4 radars go offline. A gap opens in the defense network roughly 40 kilometers wide. Step 5. Strike execution. The Ospreys launch. 22 aircraft lift off the Baton's deck in a staggered sequence designed to minimize rotor wash interference. They transition to airplane mode and accelerate to 270 knots. The formation splits into 3 elements. Element 1 flies through the radar gap at 8,000 feet, the fastest route. Element 2 drops to 400 feet, hugging the coastline where remaining radar coverage is weakest. Element 3 holds in reserve, orbiting at a safe distance, ready to reinforce or divert. 17 minutes after launch, Element 1 crosses the Iranian coast. No radar has tracked them. No missile has launched. The defense network, degraded by electronic attack and precision strike, is still trying to re-establish its common operating picture. By the time Iranian commanders understand what is happening, 800 Marines are already on the ground. 40 minutes later, the reserve element delivers another 400. Forward arming and refueling points are established. The beachhead is operational. No ship entered the Strait of Hormuz. No Marine set foot on a beach. No conventional amphibious. Doctrine was followed. And that is exactly the point. The deployment near Iran was not about the Marines on the ground. It was about proving that the system works, that a force of over 1,000 warfighters can be inserted into one of the most heavily defended environments on Earth, from beyond the range of coastal missiles, faster than the defense can react, through gaps created in real time by a networked kill chain that coordinates sensors, jammers, missiles, and aircraft into a single coherent action. Iran's defense was designed to stop a fleet. It was designed to stop a landing force. It was designed to stop the war America fought in 2003. It was not designed to stop this. The outcome of this equation was never determined by courage, or by willpower, or by the number of troops on either side. It was determined by integration, speed, by data latency, by the time it takes to turn sensor data into a firing solution, and the time it takes to move a force from ship to shore through a corridor that didn't exist 4 minutes ago. Modern warfare is not won by the strongest force. It is won by the fastest system. The nation that can close its kill chain in seconds while forcing its adversary to operate in minutes holds an advantage that no amount of hardware can overcome. Iran has missiles. Iran has radar. Iran has geography. But the United States has the network. And in 21st century conflict, the network doesn't just win the battle. It decides whether there is one.